Well, I'm John, and this is my wife, Meg.
Oh my gosh, so many different reasons, but really what we were thinking about when we thought about our reception was having fun with our friends and having a party that was really accessible to all the guests in our group. So we had a lot of very conservative elderly individuals in our guest count, and then we also had a lot of friends. We have big families, siblings that are close in age to us. Their friends were going to be there and their dates. So we wanted the space to be one that was really fun for everybody, and large enough to offer vignettes for different people. So little lounge spaces for people to sit and visit. Obviously a different dining space from cocktail hour space, a dance floor, and we really wanted a blank canvas. There's a transformative quality, I think, to this space, and we were really able to make it our own and make it special, and we can talk a little bit more about the specifics later. Do you have anything you want to add?
That was pretty perfect.
I might have a different answer than my husband over here, but I really loved the ability to create multiple spaces within the space. So there is one wall specifically in, I believe it's Bay 3, and that is a blank black wall. And for our wedding, I had a surprise component that my husband didn't know about, and we actually were able to project 2 old films that are special to us on that wall, and that's what we danced against. And a number of our dance floor photos show those images up on the wall. Any of the images of toasts happening have Humphrey Bogart up against the wall. We had Casablanca playing, and then we had Sabrina, the old film with Audrey Hepburn. So that was really special to me, and there were so many different opportunities to do things like that in this space. Bay 2 is the cocktail hour space, and we wanted our guests to walk into a space that was almost completely white, and that is what this space is. There's brick walls which are behind us, and then the rest are white, which kind of adds to that traditional wedding feel, which was important to some of our guests and our family. So that's what I loved. But what about you?
The thing that I liked about it most is, going back to what you said, is the just the transformative opportunity to really have that open canvas. We looked at a few different places, I think, and aside from Warehouse 215, obviously being in Arizona, we have the luxury of having some great, beautiful resorts and venues where several weddings are held. But and some of the rooms are beautiful there, but you really can't picture it as your own. And one of the things I think that stood out to us, specifically my wife, just because she really is so right-brained and sees things differently than I do, is just how much you could really do with this great space. You have the beautiful red brick walls, yet with this kind of this timeless old world classic look of the chandeliers in the other room that really make this mix of modern and timeless and old world, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's something we noticed looking at other venues. And like Johnny mentioned, there's so many gorgeous resorts and hotels here, but we were kind of feeling like, okay, that ballroom looks just like that ballroom, which looks just like that ballroom, and they all have tan carpet, and we were kind of bored. And so we started to think about more alternative spaces that would offer all the qualities that we just shared.
And I think that was also that stood out to us, as well as a lot of the resorts really had specific vendors they worked with. There really wasn't many different options you could do, and being able to be at a place like Warehouse 215 is we are able to work with really local boutique different vendors, and that somewhere at a major hotel chain or a major group, they pretty much have a standard set list of vendors that they work with every time, and there really isn't any exception. So.
And sometimes just one vendor. So, like I think a lot of other brides would say, the planning process for a very large event with a lot of emotions and stakeholders involved can be really stressful. And one of the highlights of my planning experience was the team here at Warehouse 215, and definitely Warehouse 215 as a physical site was really special to us and a highlight as well, but it was really the team here that was available after normal business hours. I really appreciated that, and by that I mean that I think it's a secret that no one tells you when you're planning a wedding, that oftentimes venues are available 9 to 3 or 10 to 2, and for a working bride and a working groom, that's really challenging, and this team is available usually not around the clock, but usually after that window, and they have events going on that you can see photographs of, get some input on how things worked out with different vendors. They can recommend various vendors in different areas of the wedding planning process. We were able to secure a fabulous florist, photographer, our catering vendor, per the recommendations of the team here at Warehouse 215, and we adored them. And it was really nice to be able to tell some of our vendors that our venue is Warehouse 215, and they would say, oh my gosh, that's one of our favorites. We know just how that team works and what the setup and teardown is going to look like. This is great. We feel good. So it was nice to feel like we were putting together sort of this equation that would result in this really incredible party. And then of course the planning process was so fun with the space this beautiful, because we were just enhancing it. I mean, we really didn't need to add anything to this space to make it gorgeous. It really could have been left as is, but everything that we added just made it that much more beautiful and magical for us. And we really felt impressed by our own ideas when we were here for the wedding, which is really cool. I mean, you don't think about walking into a space and thinking like, oh my God, wow, I came up with that. And that really turned out stunning, exactly how I thought, or even better than what I envisioned. What about, did you have a favorite part of? No? It's cool.
Well,
usually the grooms don't.
Piggybacking on what my beautiful wife didn't say, is that realistically to most grooms, we don't do much of the planning. And so I looked to my role. My role is to really support her, because planning a wedding is there are moments, very stressful times. Things don't necessarily go how you want, but what I was very appreciative of was the staff here was very supportive of Meg and planning and being convenient of our busy schedules and having us come over here at 6 p.m. rather than that 3 o'clock window. And so it made my job of supporting her that much easier, which is always a nice thing.
Truly, like, there are no words. I mean, it was exactly what I had envisioned for the feel of the event, and that's a hard piece to communicate to vendors, that you want a space to feel warm and feel inclusive and feel like a representation of your relationship. I think that's tough, and I felt like this space kind of gave us that, and I felt like we walked in and we were sharing our relationship with all of our guests. And I feel like it's so often that your relationship in the wedding planning process becomes so much about the wedding, and the wedding is supposed to be a celebration of your relationship. And that's what I felt like our wedding day was. I felt like we were sharing pieces of ourselves with our friends and family who already know all those details and idiosyncrasies, but it was a celebration of all the good stuff, and that's what a wedding day should be for any couple, I think.
I agree completely, but and this is more just a personal feeling, and what I had for the wedding is I have a very creative, pretty special wife, and it was unique for me when I came several weeks before and was able to see how beautiful this space was. It's hard for guys to really envision what it is going to look like, and you know, I will always remember walking in after our photographer and doing our photos individually and seeing it for the first time, and it made me feel very fortunate to one, see how much effort the team and my wife put into this, our special day, but it also reminded me, I believe, how lucky I am and just how creative and special of a person she is. And so that's really what I remember out of it. That's all you.
Well, our wedding photos turned out stunning. We love them, and we just were so shocked that we loved so many of them, because I think when, as a young couple, when you think about all the wedding photographs that you've seen, maybe from family and parents, you know, it's an album of probably 20 images, and they're all beautiful, but I never imagined that I would struggle to put together a wedding album, because I love so many of the images, both the really traditional portrait style images, which Grandma and Grandpa love to have, right? But then also the artwork that our photographer Kim Ventola was able to create, from our ceremony to the time we spent in between the ceremony and the reception, just being together and chatting and recapping the ceremony, and then the reception and that party after the toasts. We are literally struggling with that right now, putting together an album that isn't 5,000 pages. So we are thrilled with our images, and I never thought that I would also want to frame images of details from the reception. And there are so many photographs that we love of our cake against the brick wall here, and our escort card display. I mean, those kinds of things, they just turned out so beautiful, and they made us feel like we were reliving the day or seeing it from a bird's eye view, which was really neat.
And you know, and it wasn't even just the interior. I think you don't even realize how great, from a photography standpoint, of how great the exterior is out here. And there's so many photos of us over on the brick outside.
Yeah, the brick, and then also the concrete on the side of this building. They're all gorgeous backdrops, and we didn't even plan to take photos in front of those. So it's nice to feel like you're kind of getting a bang for your buck in terms of lots of backdrops for your photos, and that definitely is something that is unique about Warehouse 215 among all the other things that make it beautiful and different. So that was a highlight for us.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can actually.
Good question.
I can actually start with that, and I don't think it's. And the reason I go right into it is because I actually just had a colleague that got married just a couple weeks after a different venue, and you know, in terms of Warehouse 215, I wouldn't say specifically there's not much that I would recommend, but to all couples, it's really about identifying what your kind of 2 or 3 most important moments are of the wedding. And you know, even though Meg and I were fortunate enough where we just had beautiful photos of getting the cake cut and our first dance and things like that, the cake cutting ceremony wasn't as displayed, I think, as we were expecting it to be to some of our other guests, and it's okay. But one of the things I would recommend is, something is not going to go 100% to plan. It's inevitable. And just, if there's 1 or 2 or 3 most important moments of the wedding that you want to have captured and you want everyone to experience, just make sure those are highlighted. And that way, whatever might come, whether it's a spilled drink or whatever it might be, those highlighted moments will be perfect.
I think layering on top of that, I think trying to sort of determine and identify those key moments that are important to you. I think it's good to really analyze and think about what spending categories are most significant and important to you, and a lot of times the venue will be that, and I think that really makes the planning process much easier, because it it helps you sort of come back to that place of balance. Like, okay, so these 3 spending categories. So for us, photography, venue, and DJ were really, really important to us. So then that would help us make other decisions, and much more easily, because we were in alignment on those being the most important pieces to us. And then lastly, I think that my advice to any couple getting married here is just use the incredible resources in the team at Warehouse 215, because they will help you make your wedding as personal and meaningful as you want it to be. And the answer would be very meaningful, because it's your wedding day. But they are experts in this area, and they have so many resources up their sleeves, and ideas and creativity, and they have a lot of their own design and decor elements here available to you. And we were able to mix their decor elements with ours, and it saved us money, it saved us time and headache. So use the team here to your advantage, because they're the best in the Valley by far.
Yeah, they really did go above and beyond, and I've said this a couple times, is they express the unexpressed wishes of the wedding experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't change anything about our wedding day. And even the crazy, weird things that I never would have expected, like my dress ripped. I don't even care. I mean, it was a beautiful wedding. It was so special, and it was ours. And that's kind of how anyone should look at their relationship with their partner, that it's messy and complicated sometimes, but it's yours, and you can't really duplicate that. And to more directly answer your question, no, I wouldn't change anything about our wedding day.
No, just only advice I can give is just enjoy it, because it goes by so fast. You started getting ready, at 6 in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
and all my groomsmen met at 9 a.m. Our wedding went to 11 o'clock, and never in my life have I experienced a faster, or what felt like a faster 14-hour day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to piggyback on that a little bit, one thing that we really thought was special, and we are so glad that we made the time to do, was taking a minute before the cocktail hour happened and just walking the space. And it wasn't walking it to audit anything that was set up, or to check the work of the team here or our coordinator. It was just to look at this beauty that we created, and we will always remember that. It was kind of this slow moment, the only part of the day I feel like that was slow for us to kind of walk around and look at everything and get ready for all the people we love most to fill the space. So I definitely would recommend doing that to any couple getting married here.